remind ourselves Australia were put into bat. Seems like a long time ago now, but it was a very cloudy morning. A coolish, quite damp breeze. It felt like a good decision to put Australia in. They were bowled out for 212. Steve Smith, a typically fidgety 66. Beau Webster overcame a terrible start, and he was plumb LBW, which was given not out, and South Africa failed to review it. It was hitting halfway up the middle stump, so he got away with that, but he did fight his way through. He got to 72, but wickets tumbled. They lost 5 for 20 in 5.4 overs after tea. So we bowled out for 212. In goes South Africa. They lose a wicket in the first over. Aidan Markram playing on to Stark. Mulder was out for 6. A laborious innings out, 44 balls. Rickleton 16. Stubbs out for 2. So 9 wickets fell after tea on the first day of a match here at Lord's, which is not a common experience at all. Bowling wise, well, Kagiso Rabada for South Africa, 5 for 51. He bowled brilliantly. Marco Jansen also bowled nicely too, took 3 for 49, and the Australians were just relentless. Stark 2 for 10, Hazelwood 1 for 10, Cummins 1 for 14, 43 for 4 after 22 overs. They just simply ground to a halt. So South Africa are 169 runs behind Australia. They got 6 wickets in hand. For Dose, you've had an up and down sort of a day from a South African perspective. You've been broad smiles 1 minute, and you look a bit glum now.
Yeah, I'm actually exhausted, to be honest. It was a very intense day of cricket watching, and I can only imagine what it must feel like being out there. But South Africa's batting, we always knew, was the weaker suit, and I think we can see why. These are young guys. Wiaan Mulder batting at number 3 for just the 3rd time in his Test career. He's never played there domestically. Ryan Rickleton, just 1 season as an international cricketer, and probably looked the best of the South African batters. And I think we can see that they're still very much learning at this level against a very, very good Australian attack. So these two, Temba Bavuma and David Bedingham, I think it will be very much up to them. And Kyle Verreynne, we know, can bat, but you can see it's really difficult out there. And I thought when the sun came out it would be easier to bat, but it seems to have become more difficult.
Let's join Henry Moran. He's with Beau Webster, who top scored for Australia.
Well, Beau, it's been a dramatic old day, 14 wickets falling. What do you make of it all at the end of that?
Yeah, it was tricky out there, no doubt. The new Dukes ball was offering plenty for the quicks and 2, very, very good bowling lineup. So it was tough work for the batters there. We've got a score on the board, and to grab 4 scalps at the end of the day there, I think we're pretty happy.
4th Test match for you. It doesn't get an awful lot bigger other than an Ashes series, arguably, or Boxing Day Test, but this is a big occasion for you early in your Test career. Yeah,
it's great to be out here. A packed house at Lord's. That hum over the ground. It's really exciting. I've been, really excited for the week coming up, and it's finally day 1. It's here, and to get a few runs, I'm really pleased. Obviously, a little bit disappointed I couldn't go on with it there, but that's the game.
Disappointed, but there'll also be a degree of relief they didn't review that decision.
There was there was plenty there. It looked like there was a couple of reviews, throughout the day that could have gone either way. It's just, when you see it out there, it can look differently on the cameras. But no, we're happy, to get those 4 scalps at the end. There's a really good effort, and like I said, 200 plus on the board with our big boys fresh and raring to go in the morning.
Talk to me about this surface, because is it the sort of surface where 14 wickets should be falling in a day?
There was enough there, definitely. I think the degree of seam movement up the slope as well was tricky. You kind of can set up for the ball coming down it, but when it goes the other way, it's a different story. And 2 world-class bowling attacks going at it on a pitch at offering a little bit with the Dukes ball, it's always going to be entertaining.
A lot of people saying Australia clear favourites for this game. Has that been the feeling inside the Australian camp?
Oh, anything can happen on any given day, and it's been a long 2-year cycle to get to this point. And when we're at our best, we're very hard to beat. And like we saw tonight, with backs against the wall with a smaller total, our quicks come out and get 4 for 30 on that, and a couple in the morning, and we could be well ahead of the game already. So no, we're always confident going into these games, but like I said, it's a test match. A lot can happen. There's a lot of cricket to be played.
And what was the feeling at the halfway stage? Forgive me, at the mid-innings break, because it did feel like it was a below par total.
Yeah, like I said, it was definitely doing enough there. The degree of seam movement, I'm not sure what the numbers say, but it felt like it was. For my first 20 balls, I felt like I was doing everything. I think I was quite lucky to survive there and get through. But I'm not sure it was a 14 wicket, but like I said, 2 very, very good bowling attacks that they don't give you much to hit. So 200 on the board and an exciting day tomorrow.
feels as though this Australian bowling attack, it's been together forever. I mean, it is an extraordinary group of bowlers.
It is. It's unbelievable. I just had a chat to feel like at third slip and gully. You know, there's something's happening every ball, especially on a wicket that's offering a little bit. So, yeah, it's, you know, it's a luxury we've had for a lot of years. It's obviously not going to last forever. But you know, the way they're going at the moment, it's world class. We've obviously got Scotty Boland who can't get in the 11 at the moment. He's averaging about 15 with the ball. So, no, we're in a good place, the quicks at the moment, and you know, the less overs I have to bowl, even better.
Just finally, big smile on your face. You're wearing the most immaculate baggy green I can remember seeing. I mean, this is special, isn't it?
Yeah, it is immaculate. It's just, you know, it's 4 tests in this compared to the, you know, 90 to 100 to some of the other boys. But yeah, it's a special occasion. It's, you know, I've worked hard, and to get to this point, I'm really proud. And yeah, to get a few runs on day one is pleasing. And like I said, I would have loved a Lord's 100, but you know, there's always a second innings.
Well played today. Many thanks, Bo.
Thank you. Ciao.
Thanks to Bo Webster and Henry Moran. One thing struck me there, Cookie, is it's a sort of an obvious thing in a way, but it struck me again today when we were out there for the toss, and they are big lads, aren't they? I mean they are. It's Stark and Hazelwood. I mean, Cummins a bit slimmer perhaps, but they are big bowlers.
Well, I said it did surprise me how big they seemed.
Yeah.
And I've played against them for a fair few years. I know, yes, a few years ago. I don't know if you get older, you get shorter, but they are an imposing.
You're not yet. You're all right.
So I don't feel as if I got shorter, but they did feel like I never felt it when I faced them, like that imposing physical presence. But certainly when I was just out there, whether it was just kind of the awkwardness of being a commentator around those kind of guys, but yeah, they did bowl very well. And I did say that I wonder if South Africa missed a trick by trying to not put any pressure back on them. You know, they did go in their shell, say, if we soak up this 90 minutes today, we'll have loads of wickets in hand, tomorrow will be fine. But I don't think you win games of cricket or test cricket by often soaking up pressure straight away. You know, when they were on the front foot, they had a brilliant session.
Yeah.
But, you know, rolling Australia, who actually are notoriously good at eking out 40, 50 runs with their lower order. Bowling them out, you know, what are they, lost 5 for 20 or 5 for 30? You thought South Africa had an opportunity to go and, you know, I'm not saying go and play like the Bazball and go, but I feel like, right, here we are, we're in this game now, we're right in the game, let's try and get on the front foot. Now, without going out there and facing it, knowing how difficult it is, did Australia not allow him to do it by not bowling? Mitchell Stark, that opening spell was the best I've seen him bowl, outstanding. And they just didn't let South Africa go. So it was top quality bowling from Australia.
Right, Henry Moran, who have you got with you now?
I've got Marco Jansen here in front of the pavilion. Assessments at the end of all that.
Yeah, bowling wise, I think we did really well. And then batting wise, just lost a few there at the end. But yeah, they bowled well, and we're gonna have our work cut out for us tomorrow.
End of the Australia innings. What was the feeling? Did you feel that it was quite an under par total that you'd bowled them out for?
You never know what a par total here is, to be honest. The ball always moves around. The sun will be shining and it'll be flat. The next moment there will be one cloud or there's a wind coming through, and then everything changes. So you never know what a par score is. You just try and bowl the opposition out for as less as possible.
There are some that will look at the scorecard and say, well, yeah, Australia so far ahead in the game, but what would you say to that?
At the moment they are, I would feel, but it's not impossible. We still have a lot of guys in the camp to make runs for us, and also a lot of guys that can score quickly as well. So when those guys get themselves in, I'm fairly confident that they can do the job for us and get a nice lead for us.
Do you enjoy bowling with the Duke's ball on this surface? I can see you smiling when I say that.
I smile because yes, but also at the same time it's something new. It's only my second time bowling with the Duke's ball. The ball moves a lot more than what it does back home, so you sort of have to get used to it, and then you have to tweak your lines a bit, especially when it's swinging a lot. So it helps a lot, but it can also not help so much, if it makes sense, depending on where you land the ball and how it feels out there.
It feels as though it's been a turbulent 3 months for Kagiso Rabada, but he bowled beautifully today.
Unbelievable. Like I said earlier, to have a guy like that in the team, you just never know what you're going to get. And yeah, there was a stage where I told some of the guys, I can see it in his eyes, he's sniffing blood now. So I went to Temba and I said, listen, get me on here, otherwise he's going to get all the wickets, and I also won 1 or 2.
Stuart Broad's influence, I know he didn't have long with you guys, but what was his role?
Yeah, he helped a lot just in terms of the ground and the how everything works, and like little tips here and there. He didn't change much in terms of how we want to go about it or stuff like that. It's just little things that can make a difference in the game for us. It was very helpful. And yeah, obviously he's a legend of the game. He's played here a lot, so he probably knows what he's saying and he knows what he's doing as well. So we definitely asked a lot of questions and we definitely learned from him a lot.
This is a South Africa side, I think for many people weren't expecting you to be in this position. Now you're in an awkward position in the game, but you've shown resilience to get here.
Yeah, people who says we don't deserve to be here or stuff like that, we don't agree at all. We worked really hard. There's other teams who played in the subcontinent as well, and we literally had to win, and we did that. And that's not easy. Doesn't matter who the team is and who they are, or whatever. To win 9 or how many games it is in a row is not an easy thing to do, because we all know in Test match cricket a lot of things can happen. So we know that, and we took a lot of confidence from that, and now we're here. And yes, we might have our backs a little bit against the wall, but like I said, Test match cricket. There's a lot that can happen in 5 days.
Still confident?
Yes.
There you go. Simple as that. Marco Jansen, many thanks for joining us. I can confirm that everyone I'm surrounded by is absolutely massive and tall.
Yes.
And they are an intimidating bunch, the Australian fast bowlers. Marco Jansen as well, Aggers. It is high class, high height in terms of the fast bowling that we're seeing in this game.
Yeah, 6'6", I think. He warmed to his task there for Dos. He sounded a bit glum to start with, but he got fired up about that usual discussion about whether South Africa should be here or not. And I thought his stuff on Stuart Broad actually was interesting too.
Yeah, he was. I think South Africa as a whole are really pushing back against this narrative that they don't deserve to be here, because winning 7 out of 7 when you have to win 7 out of 7 was quite difficult. I know it was Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, Pakistan. Remember, Sri Lanka beat South Africa the last time they travelled there pre-COVID. So I think they feel a little bit as though people are being a little bit down on their achievement for getting here, and I know that that's a mantra that's kind of running through the team. The other thing, of course, Marco Jansen speaking in his second language. He's
yes,
an
he's Afrikaans speaker,
first
yes.
language speaker, and he's quite a shy guy, actually.
Yeah.
I mean, for a tall, imposing guy, he is quite shy. So I think he did pretty well there.
Yeah, no, it's good. He gave a bit back. Being busy, I guess, is what we're talking about, isn't it, Cookie? I mean, you've been there so many times yourself. When you are backs to the wall and you've lost 3 or 4 wickets, it's not like going out there and necessarily smacking it about. I know the Bazball does a bit of that, but it's those singles, it's those gaps. The odds are there's going to be attacking fields, there's going to be 3 slips, gully, maybe short leg. It's those scoring opportunities, isn't it? We're really talking about rotating the strike. It's being busy.
It's trying to find the balance.
Yeah.
You know, that it's the risk-reward balance, which is the art of batsmanship. Now, when you face 20 odd overs, however many South Africa, and only score 40 and you lose 4 wickets, the natural thing is to say, could we have been slightly more proactive? If they'd have gone a bit more reckless and they were like 60 for 7, but you say, well, they went too attackingly. So the art of being the best batsman in the world in all conditions is being able to get that balance right. I just thought, just by looking at it, yes, against some really high quality bowling, and I think we have to say that. I'd love to see the lines and lengths on Hawkeye and the amount it moved, just to see how few freebies Australia gave them. But it just felt as if South Africa allowed a little bit. Now, could they do that? Of course, in hindsight, we sit there in the dressing room at the end of the day, we could have done that. The one thing from South Africa have to go out there now, and I know there's a really good point about Jansen's second language, because it sounded like they were beaten already.
Yes.
But they're only 160 runs behind.
Absolutely.
And it only takes one partnership tomorrow, and Australia not to bowl as well again, because we'll put a few facts into it. These guys haven't been playing any red ball cricket, so the challenge, as always, in red ball cricket is getting your body then backing up for day 2 and day 3. So I'll be surprised if they bowl quite as well as they did today. So you kind of look into that. They might have to weather a bit of a storm for half an hour, 40 minutes. As always, the first hour, how many times you say it, you put these guys into their second, third spells, there'll be more scoring opportunities. They have to get a partnership. These two, that's the reason why Mulder's batting at 3, is to allow Bavuma to bat at 4 then into bat at 6, we're into bat at 7. That's their strength. They don't want those guys to be exposed to new ball. That's why Mulder's batted 3. He's not a 3. We can quite clearly see that. But this is where their strength is, and they'll need them to perform for them to get back into this game tomorrow.
I can see a man next to me, stacks of numbers and figures and columns. Is that movement per decimal point?
Well, I was looking at movement across the day. So both teams and their seamers, these two high class seam attacks, and actually for day one of a Lord's Test, there was way below average in terms of movement through the air and about average for deviation off the pitch. But I guess what those stats don't tell you is the quality of those balls, the consistency. Australia's bowlers in their relatively brief part of the day had more balls hitting the stumps than any other team on day one of a Lord's Test as far back as the CricViz ball tracking data goes, which is about 20 years. So I guess that was a key aspect. We saw 7 players bowled after tea, 4 Australians and 3 of the South African top 5. And session data is a little bit unreliable online because it hasn't been sort of collated for that long. But that's the most in any recorded session, the most bowls in a single session of Test cricket going back about 20 years.
Which wouldn't surprise you, Jim, necessarily. I mean, you've seen these fellas bowl a lot. I think Stark was most impressive of the Australians, wasn't he?
He seems to get better the more he goes. He doesn't bowl that freebie half volley on the leg stump like he used to do Alistair Cook and to other people so often, just to take the pressure off. He just looks a much better bowler in his twilight years than he was before. There's more control, good pace, bit of swing. So there's a precision and control discipline about Australia's bowling that you get used to seeing, I'm afraid, against most sides now. It's very rare that anyone takes them to task. Maybe England will.
Well, I was going to say to Cookie, it's a reminder in a way of what the task is this winter, isn't it?
Yes.
And on pitches, you're going to give them more carry.
Absolutely. I don't think anyone's ever doubted that. I think if Australia have these, I'll include Scotty Boland in the 5, then fit and well for those 5 Test matches, England have got a real tough chance. But we saw against England last time, as soon as you take one of them out, or even say Nathan Lyon, such an important part here when he got that injury in that calf, how dangerous it is. But the only thing I'm going to say just before we finish is, if you don't play much red ball cricket in a warm-up, as a batting, I think the bowling is easier to bowl with less practice than it is to bat against these conditions. I think, we're talking about South Africa's slight inexperience, and these conditions are unique. In England with the Duke's ball, you do need time in the middle to get used to it more than you do need to bowling. And I think we saw that today. 2 sides are probably slightly undercooked.
Very briefly, Jim, top 3 still question marks?
Yes, definitely. But you got to marry that to what Alistair said about the batting being a bit rusty coming into this game. And South Africa's catching in the early session was superb. They didn't miss a trick.